5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're now tuning in to True Way Gaming Podcast, hosted by One Way Soldier. We answer your gaming-related questions and talk about gaming-related topics. Now available on major platforms like iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, and others, helping you game with a better understanding.
Hey, God bless you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of True Way Gaming. I'm your host, One Way Soldier, or you call me Carl. And here on True Way Gaming, we talk about your gaming-related questions. Well, answer your gaming-related questions and talk about your gaming-related topics. And what I like to see, or what I've been excited for the past couple of years, at the end of like Xbox One life and PS4, and coming to, current gen, what I love to see is classic games being ported over to current gen. And also, previous gen. The Xbox One and PS4 is previous. And like a great example, we've seen what Sony did with the Jak and Dexter trilogy. We've seen the Jak and Dexter trilogy being sort of remastered. Well, they're the PlayStation 2 versions, emulated PlayStation 2 versions on the PS4. Two things to that. One, the PS4 and PS5 register those games as PS4 games, even though they are running PlayStation 2 emulation. And then also, it's really cool to see limited run games where they did a limited run of the trilogy. So you could literally get again the PlayStation 2 Jak and Dexter 1, Jak 2, Jak 3, all on a Blu-ray disc, and play it on your PS4 and PS5. And I think that's really cool. They also did a limited run of Red Faction and also Destroy All Humans, Indigo Prophecy, and Star Wars Republic Commando, but also porting that on the Switch. And in other words, it's really cool that we've seen recently just these classic games from the PlayStation 2 era and original Xbox, Gen 6, I should say. And we seen them just get to play them than ever before. And I love that idea. Obviously, I'm a retro gamer. I've expressed it plenty of times here on the show. But it's even cooler to play it on the PS4 because there's also trophies. Something I wish Microsoft did. But that's not exactly the topic that I wanted to talk about today. What I wanted to talk about, I already gave a few examples, but I just, wanted to talk about some of the highlights of, I guess, OG Xbox games and PlayStation 2 games that are currently being ported, and some other games that I'm excited for, a game that's coming I'm excited for, and what games I want to be brought back. And then also it leads me to sort of another topic, and I'll get to that in a few moments here in this episode. So like I mentioned, Jak and Dexter trilogy, you could play it on your PS4, you could buy them digitally, and or if you could track down, go on eBay and track down a physical copy of Jak 2, Jak 3, Jak 1. Also, Destroy Humans. And what I love about that too is like Destroy Humans, not only we have the PlayStation 2 version, right, sort of brought back onto the PlayStation 4, but also in Xbox backwards compatibility, they brought that back through their back compat program, and also up-res it to 4K and all HDR. And so if you own the original Xbox, copy, boom, you pop that into your Xbox One and or Series X, and then boom, you have it. But what's also cool is that there's a remake of it, and I love that. It's a full-on remake of it, and I really take my hat off to THQ Nordic. THQ Nordic is one, I would say, of the main publishers that is really going back to looking at their IP catalog and saying, man, what can we bring back? What can we remake to current gen? And I love that. And, with the Destroy Humans, THQ Nordic published, the remake of Destroy Humans, and that was released on July 28th, 2020. And also part 2 was announced. They didn't give a release date on that yet, but they have an announcement trailer of they're fully remaking Destroy Humans 2, which is amazing, which is so hyped about that, and I hope to see this trend, so to speak, not just from THQ Nordic, but for other companies. Like Blue Point Games, for example, they remade years ago Shadow of Colossus, which I'm enjoying. Like, I never got to play on a PS2 nor the PS3 when the HD collection came out, but man, playing on a PS4, and this may sound weird, but when I play that game on the PS4, not only does it look like a modern game, because obviously they remade it from the ground up and the visuals are just gorgeous and so breathtaking, but I feel the passion behind the developer's vision for that game. And I feel like it's a little weird, but I feel like you don't feel that in a lot of games currently. And to me, that's very sad to say that. Like now, I feel like what games today is like moving cattle through. It's everything is just, oh man, we gotta make this game and have it on time. I'm not saying that there is no developers left, right? That are making games that they're passionate about. I mean, obviously, I think every game developer wouldn't be making games if they didn't have a passion for it. But in terms of franchises and certain IPs, certain IPs and certain companies, like for example, Activision, which I can't wait for them. I can't wait for next year when Microsoft takes over and they have to report to Phil Spencer, because I think that's when we're going to see passion behind Call of Duty. It hasn't been officially announced, but there's a big insider, there's insider information that 2023's Call of Duty is going to be delayed for the first time in 2 decades. That's awesome. And literally next year, either the beginning and or by June of next year, 2023, we are going to see Microsoft, the deal will be completed, and then boom, Call of Duty is officially Microsoft's, and they can have input and do whatever they want to do. So by it being delayed next year, I think that's perfect, because then we get to see Microsoft step in and be like, all right, you guys, if you guys need more time, hey, take your time. You guys need help, we'll send the help, etc. But yeah, my point of bringing up Call of Duty and stuff is because literally Activision has made all their other studios full of talent, full of IP. They have such a amazing list of IPs, but they have made every developing studio an assist studio for Call of Duty. And literally, I don't feel the passion behind it like I felt with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the first one, back in 2007, where that literally changed the series, because Call of Duty obviously was always World War II. And in 2007, when they went modern time, oh man, forget about it. Not only it was a big change, but the game was amazing. At its time, it was a change, a nice change of pace, and it was just a fluid, an amazing shooter, and, they took that formula for like 20 years and, it feels a little stale, but now we get to see something different, and I like that. But other games I mentioned, or I want to mention, is that also Red Faction. You could buy the first Red Faction, PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 2 version on the PS4, or you could play it on your PS5, which is so cool. Because I have a physical copy of it. I could pop it into the PS5, and it's crazy. It's a little weird to say this, but like I'm playing the PlayStation 2 game, but it's registered as a PS4 game on my PS5. It's really cool. And then also seeing Star Wars Bounty Hunter. I also have a physical copy of that, limited run games. Again, it's a PlayStation 2 version on disc, but the disc itself is registered as a PS4 game. And I just hope that, and also Star Wars Republic Commando. And I just hope that I want to see more. I want to see more games like that, in other words. Games from early 2000s, and, like not only just being, definitely remastered, of course. Especially like on Xbox, I would see some games, with achievements. But I think, I just love that we get these beloved games from, Gen 6, and have it, even though it's just the PlayStation 2 version, I love that it's preserved on a Blu-ray disc, and that's when I want to see more, or a Nintendo Switch cartridge, like Star Wars Republic Commando. You could there's actually a double pack where you get Star Wars Racers and Star Wars Republic Commando on both on one disc and or on one cartridge. And to me, I love that. I love that so much. And yeah, and also, like, for example, just other games that I played, for example, or I love to see back, I'm gonna list some original Xbox games now, is Rogue Trooper. Rogue Trooper, also released on the PlayStation 2, but back in 2005, October 18th, there you go, October 18th, 2005, it released on my bad, October 17th, 2006. That's when the Rogue Trooper Redux. Sorry for the long pauses, guys. I'm sorry. I'm over here mixing up my dates. I'm sorry. But 2006, in other words, it released on the original Xbox and PlayStation 2, Rogue Trooper. And it's cool that, excuse me, and back in 2017, we had a complete remake of the game, Rogue Trooper Redux, which released on October 17th, 2017. For the PS4 and the Xbox One. And man, I bought that game and I beat it. And literally I have such a back catalog, right? A backlog of games. But when I got that game and I was like, man, I want to, like, I played the first mission or whatever, and I was like, man, this is fun, like obviously, I don't know if it's like, that's a game that I highly recommend people play. Just because, it's the original Xbox game, and to me, it's genuinely fun. But I know there's a lot of gamers, or modern gamers today, that, they expect games to be played like Call of Duty, or they expect, how should I say, they may feel like the game might be, I could see why people may feel that the game may feel outdated, I guess. But for me, when I played it, it's completely fun. It's completely fun, and I feel like, man, this is I feel the passion behind the project, from Rebellion Games and stuff. And for them to bring that back to a current generation, well, previous, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Highly recommend it. And especially this next game, that was the Zombie, a Rebel Without a Pulse. And that came out on the original Xbox. It was original Xbox exclusive back in October 18th, 2005. And it's really dope that we received the remaster in last year, 2021. And to me, that is, I had it on the original Xbox. And what I loved about this game is that I remember it was announced that it was being made with the Halo engine. This game also features cooperative, and it's similar to like Halo Combat Evolved. When one player dies, there's like a bird's eye view of spectating the other person, and in other words, you see the Halo engine all up in there. But obviously, the game feels like its own game. You're playing as a zombie, and it's also funny too. It was unique and definitely unique at the time, because you don't really, like, obviously you see a lot of games or shooters that you take a role as a survivor shooting zombies, but you never really see games or seen games at that time, even till today, where you're playing as a zombie attacking humans, and actually have a story to it. So playing this, in 2022 now, because I play it, I'm not finished with the game yet, but when it came out late last year, it's very refreshing to see. It's very refreshing because I love this game back on the original Xbox. I thought it was very cool, and picking it up again, playing it, and I'm not sure. I think it's in 4K. I'm not sure if it's a 4K or it's 1080p, but playing it at 60 frames to where the original Xbox, it was at 30 frames, and also a reason to play it again because now that it has achievements. And the achievements are very fun and easy to get. I like that. And also just, I was a kid when I played the original Xbox version, but now playing it as an adult, oh wow. It's like I understand a lot of the jokes, it's very funny to me. And again, it just feels like, it makes me feel, I know it may sound weird because it's a zombie game, but it's a cartooning game. It's not a serious game like it's not like Back 4 Blood or anything, or even Left 4 Dead. It's this game is literally a comedy, and but it makes me feel like a kid playing it again, playing it in modern time, and that's what I love. And, it reminds me, like, that feeling is what made me love video games. Playing a game and having a fun time where I don't have to worry about microtransactions or monetizing it, or games felt broken. I don't have to worry about day one release of a game and it's broken, glitchy, or day one patches, or anything like that. Literally, it's a remastered made by Aspire. I give them props. It's a good remaster, and it works day one. And I give them props. Just bringing back a beloved game of mine, and literally, I have fun. I have fun, and I wish, man, I had that feeling in games today. And to be honest, it's a little hard to find that. It's a little hard to find. I'm not saying that there's no games I'm into today. Like, I picked up Elden Ring, very fun title. I'm gonna beat that. It's very, very fun. And I have other. I made an episode with Tony of my back catalog that I'm tackling and stuff. So I'm not saying there is no games with passion today, and I'm not saying there's no games I'm into. But man, Stub the Zombies and also just Rogue Trooper and the Jak 2. Those games bring a certain feeling in my heart that I'm like, man, like this is to me what made me fall in love with gaming, and I wish I had that with modern games today, but I don't. And especially too, I love also, and I bug out too that I think it was last year, December 3rd, 2021. We've gotten Quake Remastered, which is crazy. The Quake from 1996, all the way in 1996, and boom, 2021, it got remastered, 4K, 60 frames, online multiplayer, cross-platform. Kudos to the Deep Dive Studios remaster. I love them, man. They're on a awesome trend, and that studio is dedicated on bringing old games back. Sorry about that. I think my phone went off, so I'm fixing this real quick. But anyway, so I'm happy that remaster came. It's awesome. And 2 games, I called it the blast from the past, that I'm excited that's coming in the year 2022. Actually, well, this one game is not confirmed for this year, but Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamer edition, which is set to release on April 7th, 2022, and is going to be released on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. And I'm very excited because I remember playing this game. Well, I actually, on the PlayStation 1 era, I didn't really play games. I watched my brother play a game. So I watched my brother play Chrono Cross, and just the story, the characters. I loved it. I loved everything about the game. I was like, oh man, like just the world of it. I love it, and that's one game that I always remember, and I always treasure that memory because I love watching my brother play. So when this game got announced recently and is releasing this year, I'm telling you, I was screaming. I was like, yo, it's crazy. And but this time, now that I'm old enough to understand what's going on fully and understand, I guess, or able to understand how to play the game, now I'm excited to dive in it. To me, this is like a day one purchase right here. And it's crazy that, this game released back on the PlayStation 1, like I mentioned, in 1999. And as a sequel to Chrono Trigger. And I know this game at that time, how should I say, fans liked it, but yet it was sort of a disappointment because the story was told, the story was very distant from Chrono Trigger. And Chrono Cross, especially a lot of beloved characters from Chrono Trigger, they had, you find out Chrono Cross I do believe that some of those, what happens to certain characters, beloved characters, whatever. Me, I never played Chrono Trigger. Hopefully that don't sound blasphemy. Chrono Trigger also released in 1995. But I'm excited to, dive into Chrono Cross, and I don't know if I beat Chrono Cross, maybe I'll, jump into Chrono Trigger because I know Chrono Trigger is on the DS. I do believe. I don't think man, I looked that up now. I'm not sure if they released it on the Nintendo Switch, but I know it's on the Nintendo DS. So I'll probably have to track down a copy. I know it's probably not going to be cheap because, again, that's a very, very, one of the best JRPGs ever made. In a lot of places say that. So, but anyway, Chrono Cross, April 7th. Fan of Final Fantasy VII, definitely going to love this. And I'm so excited for that. I'm so beyond excited. And then another game that was announced that last year. Now, this game, to be honest, I'm a little concerned. Because it's a Ubisoft title. So I'm excited because it's a Ubisoft game. And then I'm really nervous and keeping my excitement down because it's a Ubisoft game. And that game is Splinter Cell Remake. They're remaking the first Splinter Cell. So I'm excited. Right now on the Xbox One or Series X, well, Xbox One X and Xbox Series X, you're able to play the whole entire Splinter Cell series, even the ones on original Xbox, like Double Agent, was it Pandora Tomorrow, Chaos Theory, the first Splinter Cell, right, etc. You get to play them at 4K, 4K resolution, auto HDR. So you get to play them as better than ever before. But what I am excited to see is not just the resolution, but to see how they make the graphic fidelity. Came a long way in graphics. I can't wait to see the game the graphics totally being remade to standards, and the details on Sam Fisher, how he looks in his suit, the HDR representation in terms of when you activate night vision and areas, even the dark areas that you sneak by, and also to see how can they improve the gameplay. Are they going to make the gameplay play sort of like Splinter Cell Blacklist, which I wouldn't mind. I love Splinter Cell Blacklist. I love the way that game played. To me, that felt the best, in my opinion, across all Splinter Cell games. Or are they going to allow that to be optional? Are they going to give an option where you can have the original Splinter Cell controls, where I think you press X to pull out your pistol, whatever, and then you get switched to Blacklist. So, I'm very curious about that. But I remember speaking to Tony, and I remember he said something that stuck with me, right? And to me, it makes sense. And it just stuck with me because he said, if Ubisoft, they're bringing back a beloved classic, to me, that means they found a way on how to monetize it. And when he said that to me, I'm like, oh, snap. I'm like, wait a second. That is so true. That is so true. Because, every game, you look at Ghost Recon. Ghost Recon is the biggest example. Ghost Recon, that is a beloved franchise. That runs deep. That is even back on the PlayStation 2, maybe even further than that, on the old PCs, right? Ghost Recon. And you look at from the 6th gen era, even older than that, and then you look at what they made Ghost Recon today with Breakpoint alone. Because Ghost Recon Wildlands, that was good. Definitely a change of pace. I think hardcore fans weren't too happy about that, but the identity of Ghost Recon was still in there, mixed with a change, right? Breakpoint, they advertised it one way, which seemed exciting, but then, what was completely absent from the trailer, the fact that it was a looter shooter. And literally, they killed a franchise. And so bad that even just a couple of weeks of the game being released, the game went down to like $10 on sale. Like the price is dropping. And they admit they failed. They failed, and they're trying to keep this game alive with updates and stuff like that. But I still do believe, to my knowledge, it's still a disaster. And I hope this will be a turning point. And that's a problem with Ubisoft games today, is that they make all their games now similar. You know, like this game has the identity of Far Cry. Far Cry is borrowing from this game. You know, Assassin's Creed, they put Far Cry elements in Assassin's Creed, and then vice versa. You know, it's just, yeah. So in other words, I'd like to think that maybe how bad Ghost Recon was, hopefully the team talk among themselves and been like, you know what, let's bring back a classic, and you know, we need to change our image a little bit. I like to think that. That's me giving them a benefit of doubt. But then again, Ubisoft has continuously to prove the opposite of what I think. So, I don't know. So in other words, I'm excited. It's the first Splinter Cell game. I love Splinter Cell. Big fan of the franchise. But at the same time, I'm nervous. So, I am excited for that. And again, that's a game for the PlayStation 6th gen era to current gen. Like, you know, being remade for current gen. Super excited about that. And, and also, like, I forgot to mention, and I don't mean to sound like all over the place, guys, I'm sorry, is that Shadow Warrior 3. Shadow Warrior 3 just came out on March 1st. So 4 days ago. So it came out 4 days ago, or 3 days ago, whatever. And that game is a remake. Well, the series of Shadow Warrior is a remake, a reboot of the original series. So, because the first Shadow Warrior, it played a lot, it was really cool. It played a lot like the original Doom, but in my opinion, better in terms of weaponry. And again, you play as a ninja, so you have a katana and shurikens and, you know, how should I say, you know, martial arts and guns and stuff like that. I love it. I wish they made that original port onto current gen. I would love to see that. But the Shadow Warrior game featured back in May 13th, 1997. So it's crazy that they rebooted the franchise, I do believe, in 2000 and... Man, I don't remember this, if it's 13 or 15. In recent years. And now we're up to the third installment of Shadow Warrior. So I'm happy to see that, you know what, they changed it. Not that anything was wrong with the originals, but they changed it to the better. And you see with every entry so far, they experimenting to where Shadow Warrior 1, highly praised. You know, you first person, you're a ninja. Again, they kept the same concept, but made the game modern. Part 2, they made it to like a looter shooter, but that game had over 78 weapons, I think. I didn't like to me, they were really stingy on the upgrades. So what I mean by that is you could pick up an upgrade and equip it to a gun, and the upgrade could be like, oh, this weapon, this upgrade raises your damage by 20%, but you will have 50% less health. You know, like something crazy like that. I didn't like how they did that. But I love the weapons in there. It was still a fun game. That game was 4 players cooperative. I played with my buddy. Shout out to Kelvin, you know. And still had a blessed time on that. And then part 3, unfortunately, I do believe, to my knowledge, they stripped out the cooperative feature. They made it more story-driven, which is awesome. You know, I love the story-driven. It's sad they stripped out the co-op. But they made the game like Doom. So, or the gameplay style like Doom, as to where you have a limited amount of weapons. You could upgrade them for alternate fires and stuff. But when you run out of ammo, you would switch to your katana and execute an enemy in order to get more ammo. And I love that. A lot of people complain, oh, this is a ripoff of Doom. No, me, Doom and Doom Eternal, I don't play that game. I don't touch those games. To me, it's very heavy in symbolism, very heavy, and I don't want to play a game and I see pentagrams all over the screen. You know what I mean? And some people, may argue, yeah, but Carl, it's just a game, and but me, that's the game is too dark for me. That's just my opinion. I don't really play games like that. So, but the gameplay though looks fun. The gameplay looks fun when seeing trailers and stuff. Fast-paced action, again, execution or whatever like that. It looks fun. So I'm glad that I could play Shadow Warrior 3, and it's the similar gameplay, but I don't have to worry about pentagrams. I don't have to, it's a more comedic, cartoony look to it, and I know I'm excited to jump into Shadow Warrior 3. Not sure when I'll play it, but in other words, yeah, it's just a classic franchise rebooted, and again, the third installment just came out, and it's cool that we're up to part 3. It didn't flop or anything, so I'm excited about that. Now, the next thing that I wanted to get into, or I should say, the games that I want to be brought back. And there's particularly 2 games, and then there is sort of a concluding point that I wanted to make. And so games that I said that games that are coming up, I'm very excited to see the Chrono Cross and a Splinter Cell, right? But these are 2 games that there's 2 other games that I really wish that we've gotten, that they've been, it looks like canceled. Still possibly could happen, but canceled. One of those games is Black 2. So I think you mentioned, I spoke about Black on the show here before, but to me, that is one of the best first-person shooters ever made. It's back on the PlayStation 2, the original Xbox. Again, the graphical fidelity of that game, the explosions, the graphical, the graphical fidelity. And then also just every gun. Every gun feels like it has power. Every gun, how every gun feels, looks, reacts, was superb, and there is a big fan base on that. And I even played on my Series. I played on my Series X. I'm actually going through the game again, even though there's no achievements. But I'm going through the game, and I'm just like, man, this game is fun, And again, I have that feeling of when I was a kid, playing that game in auto HDR, playing it in 4K, and it's just the game still holds up significantly well today. And that's a game on original Xbox. Like it's using. The system thinks is running the original Xbox code, but it's in 4K, auto HDR. I'm telling you, that game still looks beautiful today. And as a matter of fact, believe it or not, I've seen Xbox One games that look so bad compared to Black. But in other words, that was back in 2006. And Black 2, Black was going to have a sequel called Black 2. And because especially the ending of the first one, sort of cliffhanger-ish, and it was in development. It was announced that it was in development, right, for 2007, 8, whatever. But then it just went quiet. But then what's really cool is that it was not really cool. So I'm all over the place. Sorry, it went quiet for a while. But then, January 5th, 2015, it was announced that Black 2 is a canceled sequel to Criterion Games' 2006 shooter, Black, which was being worked on by the same developer for a publisher and IP holder, Electronic Arts. So, for whatever reason, they canceled it. EA canceled it. But then a few years later, I was doing some research or whatever, and then Gaming Bolt actually did like an article on this and even a video on this to why Black 2 was canceled. Where is it? Right? I think there was like what happened to Black 2, and just a quick quoting a part of the article here on gamingbolt.com. And again, you can watch the video and read it yourself, Gaming Bolt. And it says, according to an interview conducted a while back, co-creator and designer of Black, Start Black, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Stuart Black, did admit that plans for a sequel to Black were definitely a thing for a while, but were ultimately scrapped because of differences between Strat and Electronic Arts, which is a shame. So because of creative differences, and we know EA. I'm sure EA, try to change up stuff and ruined it and etc. So yeah, I give him props for like, you know what, this ain't happening, rather than taking a risk of an amazing title being, reputation being destroyed. So, it got canceled. Very sad. But, technically it still can happen. So what I mean by that is Criterion, they still work at EA. I'm not sure the original developer team is at Criterion Games, but they are there. And if EA wanted to, because they own the IP, they could give it to Criterion Games. Obviously, Criterion Games has not worked on a shooter for years. They've only been working on Need for Speed games, unfortunately. So it looks like EA is not letting that up anytime soon, unless there's a change in the leadership. But, I say that, but at the same time, EA gave the okay for Dead Space 1 to be completely remade. And we never thought that would happen. Now, yes, Black is an older game, so, but it's a beloved game. So was Dead Space. A very beloved game, and that's why they're remaking it. So there's still hope. There's still hope. Obviously, I can't wait to see when the Dead Space remake comes out, because then we get to see if it's strictly single player. But then again, also EA, they gave the okay to Respawn Games to make Jedi Fallen Order, and there was no monetizations for that. They didn't add no loot boxes and stuff to the game. It's strictly single player, and it's it's an amazing game, amazing title. It did very well. It took the fan base by surprise. People didn't realize or didn't expect EA to stay true to the single player experience, right? And then also we have Dead Space remake. So I wouldn't put it off just yet. It's possible. It's possible that EA, they're starting to change. As of right now, they still are terrible with, Battlefield 2042. And, the campaign for that got scrapped. But the higher ups, they ruined that game. The higher ups definitely ruined the game. They didn't give the developers enough time. I know that's what happened. So again, they still need work. They still need change of leadership. Hopefully the failure of that game causes change in leadership. I really hope so, because if I was an investor of EA, I would be very disappointed. Matter of fact, I would be like, man, why am I even investing in this company? And it sucks because it hurts my heart, because again, back in the early 2000s, EA made some amazing games. Like I said, 2000s, we just spoke about Black, and then even Def Jam Fight for New York, and they weren't afraid. I actually made an episode of that, of I think strictly about EA and their IPs that I would love to see, and I went way back too, a lot of titles that I quoted, and named, and it just sucks that, how should I say, it sucks how they are today, but at the same time, still see hope. I still see that they're changing, and hopefully they change faster. And then the second game and the last game is Turok 2. Now, you're probably wondering, Turok 2, that's girl, we got a remaster of that like 2 years ago. What are you talking about, man? Now, I'm not talking about the remaster that was developed by not the Nintendo 64 classic Turok 2, and that was remade by Deep Dive Studios. Even though I love that, I'm happy we got that. Yes, I wanted that for years, and my prayer has been answered, because I wanted Turok 1 and Turok 2 remastered, the classic ones. But what I'm talking about the 2008 Turok that released back on the PlayStation 3. I believe it was released in 2008, but yeah, back on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And that game was based on the comic book Turok. So there's a comic book where Turok is like a space marine, crash land on a planet. The planet, is jungles, and there's dinosaurs, right? There's dinosaurs, and you find out there's laboratory and stuff that made dinosaurs, etc. And a wolf pack, etc. Awesome story to me. I loved it. I know a lot of fans at that time. That game still sold well. The hardcore fans of Turok, they were disappointed. I mean, man, where's the weapons? They changed up Turok. He doesn't look like an Indian. He looks like a space marine, etc. But that game was based on the comic book series, and I guess that's what people didn't know, which was also successful. So that game sold well, and a sequel. It's funny because it was never announced that a sequel to Turok 2 is happening. It's literally weird. It was announced, the cancellation of the project was announced before it was ever announced. So I'm quoting a quick article here from Eurogamer. They made an article on this, and I quote: Turok 2, the intended sequel to the 2008 PC. Oh, so I was right. PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox. Actually, I didn't know that game came out on PC. Yeah, I might look into that. I want to buy it on PC. PC, PS3, and the Xbox 360 reboot of Turok was canceled by Disney back in 2009. So that's crazy. Wow. So 2008, the game came out, and then they were developing a sequel in 2009. It's crazy. But anyway, yeah, reboot of Turok was canceled by Disney back in 2009 before it was even announced. The Vancouver-based developer Propaganda Games was at the time also working on an action RPG, Pirates of the Caribbean, Armada of the Damned. That too was canceled. After the release of Tron Evolution in 2010, the studio closed down. And I was sad, the studio closed down. And it's crazy. So it breaks my heart that it was canceled. Propaganda Games, they closed down, and also it was at that time frame where people heavily speculated too, which I'm pretty sure is what happened. Over 70 employees were let go, and a lot of those employees was working on Turok 2, and I do believe that's what heavily determined the cancellation, what Disney did as well. And then obviously 2010, the studio as a whole just closed down, which really sucks. Really, really sucks. So, and I want this back, man. I'm a big fan of Turok, the classics and the modern Turok. That's all I'll call it. But with this game, I also have hope because it looks like Disney is in control, or if I'm understanding correctly, to my knowledge, it looks like Disney could approve that game again. I know Propaganda Games I don't think they own that title. I think Disney owns that Turok IP, the modern Turok. And then they told Propaganda Games cancel. So in other words, I like to think that Disney, praise the Lord, could possibly hand it off to another studio underneath the belt. And yeah, I'm gonna stay hopeful for that. I'm gonna stay hopeful for that, especially I hope there's an outcry for that, because also it was just recently announced in Nintendo's Direct that Star Wars, the Force Unleashed, the first one is sort of not remade, but remastered onto the Switch because it's the Wii version, and it's gonna have the multiplayer that was only featured on the Wii on the Nintendo Switch. So, yeah. But anyway, my point is, it's an old game. I thought Force Unleashed will never see that again. And they are bringing it back. And yes, it's Star Wars, very different. It's Star Wars. And then they brought back Republic Commando and Jedi Outcasts, Jedi Academy and stuff. So it looks like they're really looking back in their old Star Wars catalog and bringing them back to current gen, which is awesome because EA failed terribly. But that's a whole nother conversation. But my hope is, I hope that we will definitely see a return of Turok 2, modern Turok 2. I believe that it could be resumed. And matter of fact, I'm gonna pray for that, before I go to bed tonight. So yeah, amen. So I wanted to share that with you, just to give a little history on that. And those are 2 games I really want to see. And my ending conclusion, I'm overall what this episode was about is just naming some of the games that, I love, that some of the games I grew up playing, seeing it being remastered, remade, just ported over to current gen. And that's something that I really hope, that I'm sure of. It's obviously is working. There's games coming out all over the place, remakes and stuff being ported over to current gen, and I hope we continue to see that for years to come. And another thing, not another thing, but with that being said, I'm very excited for the Sony Project Spartacus that is being heavily rumored, because it hasn't been announced by Sony. But at this point, we know it's pretty much, we know it's going to happen. And the reason why I say this is because it was shown today, or I'm not sure, a couple of days ago or so, that, well, right now, let's say if you're a subscriber to PlayStation Plus, right? And you're also a subscriber to PlayStation Now. If you were to go on your computer and go to your subscriptions, instead of it listing PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, it would show you PlayStation Plus twice. So I don't think that's an accident. I think really soon, with this rumor, we're definitely going to see PlayStation Now fuse into PlayStation Plus, and it's going to be a tier. I truly believe we're going to see that. I think we're going to see PlayStation Plus, the basic tier, I forgot the names of it, the medium tier, and then the, a third tier that includes PlayStation Now and maybe some extra stuff. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited for that, because, and why I'm connecting it to this episode in particular is because with PlayStation Now, you could play PlayStation 2 games, you could stream PlayStation 3 games, right, etc. But I hope that with this service, we will get to see more PlayStation 2, because they don't have all the PlayStation 2 games on there. Or I'm talking about all the 50-something games that you're able to buy in the PlayStation Store. They have a handful of games, not all of them. So they don't have like the Warriors on the service, or, Manhunt, Max Payne, etc. Just name a few. So with this service that's going to release, I hope that we get to see more of a catalog for PlayStation 2 games. And I hope that we can even see PlayStation 3 games, but we get to play it natively. I hope that we get to download it onto the console and play it natively. I really hope we get to see that, because even then, I think it was like a couple of months ago, it was even spotted someone browsing the PlayStation Store, and they even saw the PlayStation 3 icon of, what was it? I think it was like Dead or Alive. I forgot which one. Was it Dead or Alive 5? I think it was Dead or Alive 5. But it showed the PlayStation 4 version, and then it showed the PS3 version, and a couple of other games. I think like Resistance 3 as well, and that's really awesome. So in other words, with this service, I hope they bring back more classic titles, not only just for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, but PlayStation 1 games we can have access as well. I hope, and get to relive those classics. Now, with that being said, I don't like, obviously it's working for other people. For me, I don't like the fact that the industry has moved to a rental model that moved away from the ownership model. I don't like that at all. Like with the Nintendo Switch, you're paying a subscription, $35 a year? I forgot how much, but you're paying a yearly subscription so you could have access to basically stream Nintendo 64 games. And yeah, I don't like that. And they're not, because Nintendo's previous service, like the Wii U, the Nintendo Wii, you're able to buy digitally Nintendo 64 versions of games, even Game Boy Advance, even Game Boy Color games, etc. So now Nintendo, obviously they're shutting down the Wii U store, and a couple of months from now you can't even buy anything on there. And there's no plans to make them available on the Switch unless they do a service thing where, all right, you could pay $50 a year. You could play, not only 64 games, but maybe GameCube games. And I just don't like that. They're not making it available to buy. And I'm a little concerned that Sony will go the same route. You know what I'm saying? Like, because what's cool is that Xbox, right? With Game Pass, you have access to, some Xbox One games and 360 games, whatever, and you could download them and play them natively. But also, you have the option to buy it. They're not locked in the, behind the description per se. If you don't want to make the commitment to buy games individually, you could just pay for the service and then you have access to all of them, right? Well, not all of the original Xbox games, but you know what I mean. And especially if you have the disc, you could just pop it in, boom. You don't have to buy the game twice. And I really hope that we get to see that with Sony with PlayStation 3 games. I doubt we're gonna see that with PlayStation 1 games because, the CDs and stuff. But it will be nice if they have an option where you get to buy them and you can play them natively on, or emulated version of those games on the PS5. I would really love to see. But I would love to see, though, we could play natively, or I want to say exactly natively, but some of what Xbox does is you could pop in a PlayStation 3 game in the PS5, and then boom, there you go. You have access to the game. You don't have to buy it twice. I would love to see that because I would love to play Resistance 3. I haven't finished that game, but I would love to finish the game on a PS5. That would just be amazing and look so good. Even though Sony doesn't really have talented engineers like Microsoft. It's not a crack on them. It's just a fact. They don't have top talented, Microsoft is a software company primarily. So Sony, they haven't been the best at that. So, but hopefully that will change. And yeah, so that would conclude my thoughts on this episode. What do you think? Is there any OG Xbox games and PlayStation 2 games or just, doesn't have to be PS2, but like old games that was from the past, has been ported to current gen, or previous gen on Xbox One, PS4, current time that you love playing, or even on PC. Do you agree with me on some of these games? What are some of your thoughts on the games that I mentioned? What are some games that you would just like to talk about as well? You could leave a comment or whatever you're watching. You could, if you have a question or a topic you want me to discuss and or answer here on the show, you could send your question at twgpquestions@gmail.com. Make sure you write your leave your name, so that I could properly address you here on the show. And also make sure you write a question and or topic on the subject line of the email. If you don't want to send an email, you could also contact me through Twitter. You could tweet at me and tweet at me a question and or a topic that you want me to discuss here or answer on the show. And then also I am on Instagram as well, True Way Gaming podcast. You can find me, follow me on Instagram. I know I didn't post anything on there yet. Please bear with me. I'm so sorry. So sorry. I'm working on that. You know what? I'm just going to do it. I'll make that commitment. I'm going to post something up on Instagram tomorrow. I have to do it. And then also, also I'm on YouTube. You can follow the True Way Gaming podcast on YouTube. Subscribe, leave a like, or a thumbs down. That's okay. And also just, again, wherever you're following, if you're listening to me on your favorite podcasting app, like Spotify or Amazon Podcast or Google Podcast, Apple, etc. I'm on all major platforms. Please follow me, subscribe, tell your friends and family about it. If your friends and family want to tune into a podcast where they can interact with the podcaster, definitely tell them about True Way Gaming. And again, I appreciate all your support. And again, thank you so much for blessing me with your time. I hope you have a blessed day. I love you guys. God bless you. Jesus loves you. My name is One Way Soldier, and this is the end of my transmission.